From the return of the Nothing to the Fox Clan and Midas and the Peace Syndicate, Fortnite Season 2 has been leaked and it reveals a lot. So let's start off with the Fox Clan and how they tie into all of this story. The Fox Clan have been silent for a long time in Fortnite Story, and that's because they've been off in another reality, assisting a world in need of some serious help. When the Fox Clan spawn in on the Chapter 4 island through their rift encounter, they talk about being separated from those who really need them, and this gives off the idea that wherever the rest of the Fox Clan are, there is something or someone causing a load of havoc that really needs to be dealt with desperately. From the past of the Fox Clan, we know they had immense trouble dealing with a character that goes by the name of Condor. Condor is a vengeful spirit handed down from ruler to ruler through the centuries, and he's also visibly shapeless in his face, which I find to be really interesting. Condor's quest description also says he wishes to isolate his foes, which are the Fox Clan, so he's definitely tied to them somehow being separated. The last time we saw the Fox Clan, they were actually up against Condor in Chapter 2 Season 5. Now they've returned and they still need more time to sort it out. Now, the Oathbound quest also mentioned a beast that has dark ties to the Shapeless Man, so maybe they're dealing with that too, but that's off in another world, so why does it even matter? The Rift Gate has been the central focus of this season, and it's seemingly bringing along the Fox Clan, the Nothing, and the Beast, or this monster enabled by the hubris of a champion that likely is the Shapeless Man who is the champion, and we'll get into his identity a little bit later, but for now, the Fox Clan are appearing on the island in an unstable state of their Rift encounter, and alongside them is some pretty interesting lore, like the Stray Fox and the Gift Fox. We're unsure of what these mean at this point in time, but you can take your guesses in the comments with a grain of salt because we don't exactly know what's going on, who they're up against and what the threat will be, but I want to see your theories. But for now, we've got a whole nother war to focus on. That's right, do you remember the Peace Syndicate? This faction seemingly just sort of arises when things look kind of peaceful, and then they make sure it stays that way, but it hasn't always worked in the past. In Season 3, Chapter 3, we thought we were vibing, but we clearly weren't. And now we thought we had a peaceful new island. But, oh, wait. The sky's being torn apart as we speak, so we're wrong yet again. What seems to be happening here is that Amy, the Seven, and Jones have all either left the island or just been silenced, and all the characters that we can trust are just sort of gone now, so there's not too many people to keep the peace around or to stop whatever's on its way, and here's where it all comes together. We don't have the allies that we're used to. We've lost our Seven and we've lost Amy, which is why we would then need the Syndicate to help us out with that and to bring peace. Then you've also got the Rift Gate, which brings in the Fox Clan, who are possibly fighting that beast the Shapeless Man talks about, and Condor as well, but then the Peace Syndicate will see some random fairy showing up through a crack in the sky, perceiving the Fox Clan as a threat, making this almost a multi-faction war between the Oathbound, the Corrupted Seven, Amy, the Fox Clan, the Peace Syndicate, and the Shapeless Man when he arrives. And maybe even Condor as well, like how hectic does that sound? And don't forget Midas still has links to the Peace Syndicate too. A house with his Doomsday Device planner book was inside of it as it was repurposed as a Peace Syndicate base, so there's a lot of connections going down here. But that's just the past characters. Leaks for this new season suggest that not only the Peace Syndicate will be playing a massive role in the progression of the story within Season 2, but they'll also likely have their leader, who goes by X, revealed to us. This is suggested by various pieces of leaked dialogue and also taglines, and it's also shown here that the Peace Syndicate aren't particularly good or friendly in the story, and their actions may even lead to another twist or alliance within this all-out war, and I don't even know who we can trust anymore, like it's just insane. So, whose side will you stick to in this massive war? I'm interested in these new Guardian characters that have been teased through the new taglines for Chapter 4 Season 2. Now, there's a really interesting line in here which reads as follows: "If you can't stand the peace, get out of the river." And the river is seemingly where this X character and the Peace Syndicate will reside in Chapter 4 Season 2, alongside the Guardians and where they're based next season. Who even are these Guardians? Who are these new characters? Well, let's start off with the Guardians, who may have even been mentioned all the way back in Chapter 2 Season 6's Spy Quests, where Raz says, "Do not rush the old Guardians. The old Guardians may bless our endeavor, and they will work their magic when they see fit." The Shapeless Man also has some ties to exiled sages of the Oathbound, so this whole idea of river and guardians and river of endeavors and vengeful guardians who grant wishes and have spiritual connections, it all makes sense for next season's theme too, of deep Japanese culture and spiritual connections that seem to be shifting the story to a more dark focus, which is really cool to see, especially for something so cartoony and animated. It's getting pretty dark. So now we've got who's returning to the story, what new characters will arise, and how everything will come together. But here's the final question. Here's what will help us understand who's really behind all of this. Who is this Shapeless Man that threatens Stellan, that corrupts the Seven, that swallows stars in darkness, that sends beasts out of the Fox Clan, that brings them all together? Who lies within his shapeless figure? In order to figure this one out, we have to go in and just purely look at the Shapeless Man for what we know about him as his own separate character. Not as the Nothing, not as even Geno, but just what we've heard to directly describe him as the Shapeless Man himself this season. From what we know, the Shapeless Man is tied to the annihilation of all humanity, as well as the dark presence which swallows stars and tears apart entire worlds. This character also holds a deep connection within the kinetic ore, which when intertwined with Oathbound technology, seemingly corrupts the souls of innocent heroes. So this guy is bad, but what does he really want with us? His interest lies within the ability to endlessly travel reality and consume worlds within his own darkness. He takes people under his wing and uses them to do things for him through threats, calls, whispers, and dark visions which usually take place in their dreams. A prophecy related to the Shapeless Man should also bring a permanent silence, as Stellan says, leaving humans and all life annihilated, tearing apart this reality in this island and leaving everything in a swallowing darkness. So to me, this sounds much more like the Nothing than it does sound like Geno. Some will go as far to see that Geno's idea of a perfect ordered reality makes him the Shapeless Man, as his character seemingly always spoke and imagined a world of perfect order, but the concept of silence, as pointed out in my friend Jay's video, also says that idea is how the Nothing wants reality to be, in a shapeless order with nothing to it. Now, that also makes sense, and that could also be what this is talking about. So the order could just be the silence, the lack of chaos, and there you have it. The facts. There's the voice lines, the personality, the evidence, so make your own decisions in the comments on who this Shapeless Man really is. Either way, no matter who it is, I think the future theme fits really well for both Geno and the Nothing, as Geno has a futuristic world that goes with him, as he says in the Zero War comics. It's sort of like tied to him in some way in his reforging. I'm not sure about that, but the last reality also have a very tech-advanced vibe to them, as we saw in Chapter 2 Season 7 as well. So either way, I'm super hyped for whatever comes to the table in Season 2. Now next season we should also have a solid answer to that question, and many more questions like who sabotaged the Rift Gate, who changed its destination, was it Amy, was it the Fox Clan, what happened to the Seven after the Fracture event, why are the Fox Clan seemingly now against the Peace Syndicate, and who are these Guardians, who leads the Peace Syndicate, what is going on, and how does it tie together for Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2 and the overarching story as a whole.